All right, so I'm going to do a quick little demo of making cams digitally so that they could be laser cut on the school's laser cutter. So I'm within Onshape here. This is sort of when you log in, the screen you would get. You're going to go up to Create, and you're going to create a new document. It'll ask you to name it. I'm just going to name it Mundell Cams. And it'll start to load a workspace. So within a workspace, you can do a lot of things. You can make parts, you can assemble parts, you can create drawings of those parts. So let's first make some parts. We have what's called a Part Studio. Here's Part Studio 1. By default, it's already out there. And this is where you're going to make your parts. So the first thing you need to do is select a plane, so like a flat surface. I'm going to make my cams in the front plane. So I'm going to click Front Plane, click that. I'm going to come up to this button that says Sketch and click Sketch. Now what you'll notice is now you see sort of this border that says Sketch 1. This is imagine a digital piece of paper that you're going to be able to draw on. I'm not a fan of drawing at weird angles, so because this is in my front plane, I'm going to click the front of this cube, and it's going to change my angle so I'm looking down on this piece of paper, just nice and flat. You will notice a little menu up here that says Sketch 1 with a green check and a red X. We won't click any of those till we're done. All right, so let's go ahead and make a cam. I'm going to make just an off-centered eccentric cam. The first thing I'm going to do is make a center point circle. So there's a tool up here that says center point circle. There's other options for making circles, but I find center point to be the best one for this use. And I'm going to center it right here in the middle of the whole plane by clicking. And oops, I think I didn't select the center point circle. Click center point circle. I'm going to click the center, and now I can move out and in and resize my circle however I want. This is going to be the hole in my cam. So after I click it, if I immediately want to set the diameter of this circle, I can do that by typing 0.25 for 0.25 inches. Okay, let me go ahead and undo that. If I didn't set the dimension immediately, that's okay. But I can also go up and change the dimension using this tool right here that says Dimension. If I click the Dimension tool and then click the edge of the circle, let me place this dimension out here, it'll allow me to modify the diameter of that circle, so 0.25. Okay, if you ever want to change a dimension, you can double click it and you can retype it in. If you want to use maybe a larger or smaller dowel rod through your cam. All right, so like I said, I'm going to do an off-center eccentric cam. So I'm going to put another circle, but this time instead of having the same center, I'm going to move up and I'm going to center it here. So it kind of looks like that. If I go back to my plan, I've got a cam that is 1.5 inches above the point of rotation and 1/2 inch below. So that makes a total of 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and select my dimension tool, click that circle, and type in 2 inches. Using the same dimension tool, I can determine how the location of this second circle relative to this circle. So like I said, I wanted it to be 1/2 inch on the bottom. So I click the center and then click this edge. Let me place it out here, click. And now I can say I wanted that to be 0.5 inches. All right. I want it to be 1.5 inches on the top, but I can't set that dimension because that's already determined by this dimension, the 0.5 inches below, and the total diameter. If I go and try to set that dimension from here to here, you'll see that it's already 0.5 inches, and it actually goes gray. If I try to put something in that it can't be, let's say I wanted to try to make it 2 inches, it's going to go red because these dimensions don't work together. You can't have this with these dimensions. They can't exist. So let me undo that, Control Z here, and I'll just leave it at that 1.5. You'll notice it's gray because it means I can't actually pick that dimension. It is determined by the diameter of my circle and the distance I've defined beneath my point of rotation. All right, so this is my cam. It's ready to go. It's ready to be made 3D. So let me go ahead and click this check box here saying I'm done and I like it. If I click the red X, I'll have to redo it all. So green check. Now what you'll see in your workspace is a flat sketch. I can select an area of that sketch as long as that area is completely enclosed. So I click it and I got this area sort of highlighted. And then I can go up here to Extrude. So you'll notice now that I'm not in sketch mode, all these commands up here are different. These are working with my 3D parts. So Extrude is a 3D command. I'm going to click that. And what you'll notice, and I can use this square over here to kind of rotate and view from some different angles. You can see that now it's gone 3D. I can select how far I want this extrusion to go over here by selecting my depth of extrusion. Let's make it 1/4 of an inch thick. That looks good. And click the green check mark. And now here I go. I've got a nice cam. If I want to modify any of the dimensions of this, I can go back into Sketch 1, click it, and I can go and I can modify this sketch. If I want to change the thickness of it, I can go into Extrude number 1, and I can update the depth of that. Okay. So this is how you will make a cam. You can make cams of all different shapes and sizes. Within your sketch window, you've got squares and rectangles, you've got spline curves, you've got polygons and other things. There's all sorts of ways you can create different shapes. So now let's talk about making this ready for the 3D, not the 3D printer, the laser cutter. So what I'm going to create now is a drawing, because the laser cutter is a 2-dimensional flat manufacturing tool. So I'm going to click down here in the bottom left, there's a plus. I'm going to create a new element. I'm going to create a drawing. And the first thing it's going to want me to do is select a template. A lot of engineers would have these very technical drawings. They would have borders and they'd have title blocks and things like that. We just want a plain sheet of paper. So I'm going to go to Custom Template. I'm going to go to my border and say Do Not Include. I'm going to go to my title block and say Do Not Include. I'm going to leave everything else the same and just click OK. So it'll open up just a blank sheet of paper where I can create a drawing of any of the parts that I have in mind. Now it automatically opens some of these menus, but if they weren't open, what I would do is I would click right up here under Insert View. When I click that, I'm allowed to click Insert. I can select the scale. We want a 1:1 scale. And I'm going to insert Part 1. So I can just click it and place it right there. Now, if I move around, it'll try to get me to place other views, but I only need that top view. That's what I'm going to use the laser cutter for. So I'm going to press Escape. I don't need to place any other views. And there it is. All right. Let me go ahead and show you how to make a different type of cam. I'm going to go back to Part Studio 1. I'm going to create a new sketch. Let me go ahead and hide Part 1 so it's not in the way. So you see down here under Parts, Part 1, I'm going to click this eyeball. It's going to go away. There we go. So let's do this again. Let's click the front plane and select Sketch. We're now working in Sketch 2, which is my second cam. I'll click the front of this box so I look straight down on it. Let's do a sort of a spiral type cam. So for one like this, I might decide to place some points. Okay, here's my center point. And then I'm going to have a point. Now, one thing you'll notice, because this is a CAD program, it's going to try to help me out. So if I move from this center point out, you'll see a little dashed yellow line. That's showing that these things should be exactly horizontal. I like that, so I'm going to click there. I'm going to put one directly beneath it, one to the left of it, and one above it. Actually, a second one above it as well, a little bit closer. So let's go back and start using my dimension tool. I want this to slowly spiral out. So from the center to that first dot, let's make it 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. From the center to this right dot, let's make it 1 inch. So it's kind of moving farther out, maybe 1/4 inch every 90-degree rotations, so this could be 1.25. And dimension from the center to the left dot, make it 1.5. And from the center to the top dot, it could be 1.75. So I've got all these dots in place. Let's go ahead and use a different tool here. This is the Spline Tool. This makes curves. So I'm going to click the Spline Tool, and I'm just going to start in this dot, click, move to this dot, click, move to this dot, click, move to this dot, click, and move to this dot, click. When I'm done, I can press Escape, and you'll see that I've got my spline. I would prefer this not to come up like a point like this. So on the end of your splines, there are these little unfilled dots. If you don't have any tools selected, and to make sure you have no tools selected, you want to press Escape. I don't want to try to place another spline. But if I have no tool selected, I can take that dot and I can kind of move it and adjust how that end point kind of works. This looks nice here, and let me do it over here as well. So I can get sort of the shape I want. All right, let me go ahead and add a circle for that center hole. I'm going to be doing this on a 1/4 inch dowel, so 0.25 for that dimension. And you'll notice that this, last time when we created our cam, it sort of grayed in a space. So we won't be able to extrude this because it's not enclosed. So let me go grab this line tool, line, and let me connect this top dot with that dot. You can see it all grayed in now, so that's great. It looks good to me, so I'm going to click the green check mark. I'm back in my 3D version. If you saw I panned here, you can always turn with the tools up here, but also if you use a 2-finger click on a Chromebook, or if you have a mouse, the right click can help you do a lot of these tools as well. I'm going to select this area and go back up to extrude. The depth of 0.25 inches. There it is. Click the green check. And there we are. That's my second cam. If I wanted to bring back cam number 1, I can show it again. They kind of overlap, but that's not a big issue. You can kind of show which one you want. Let's go back to the drawing and add it. Drawing 1 at the bottom. It's a little tab. There's my first cam. I'm going to click Insert. I've got 1:1 scale. I'm going to click Insert, and this time I'll select Part 2. So I'm going to place this kind of close because I don't want to waste material when I cut this out of cardboard. It'll want me to maybe place other views. If I was doing an engineering drawing, I'd place other views, but I only need this top view, so I'm going to press Escape, and there we go. So now my last thing to do, once you've done all your cams and all the parts you want cut out with the laser cutter, you just need to export this in a format that the program that runs the laser cutter can understand. The easiest one is PDF. And you want to make sure you've done this in a 1:1 scale because this is the size it's going to cut them in. But if I go down to drawing 1, right click, and select Export, let me give it a name, Mundell Cams. The format will be PDF. All right, and I'm going to click Export. It'll say it's preparing it for export, and eventually it'll download this file to your computer. I don't think you'll be able to see it on the screencast, but it's downloaded now to my computer, and that's just a PDF of this drawing, and it's what I can send to me via email, and I can get things laser cut for you. If you want to be a part of that process, I wouldn't mind bringing you in and showing you the laser cutter as well. It's pretty fun to watch. But you'll get these really precise parts exactly the way you want them. You're definitely welcome to cut them by hand. Maybe that's easier, but maybe this is a skill you want to learn. And this is a great opportunity to get nice, precise parts for your automata. So if this is something you want to do, go for it. Don't be afraid. Definitely don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm happy to help people with Onshape. I'm happy to help people troubleshoot any of the issues that they are having creating digital versions of their parts.